Hello everybody, my name is Zeke, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a very special one, a very different one, because today I'm going to be building a TBR. And what makes this special is I usually do not plan my reading at all, and I just kind of pick up things as I go, either from the library, digitally from the library, or I buy books. I love buying books. Summer is here, and over the summer I tend to have a lot more time to read, and so I end up reading a lot more. And this year I really want to plan ahead a little bit, just so I'm not always chasing after, like, spending a lot of time in the moment looking for my next book. I want to have a general guide of some things I could be reading, and so I want to make this TBR. And it's not going to be insanely structured, or I'm not going to make it like I have to follow this and these are the only books I can read, but these are just going to provide me with a base to draw from that I know I can access easily. And for that reason, this TBR is going to be completely based on digital library services that are offered, and I'm going to look on the two apps that I have that I use to get e-library books, and I'm going to go through them, and I'm going to try to find, I think, 5 to 10 books that I can just know that I can get easily digitally from the library and that I really want to read this summer. Two apps that I use, I get all my books through the New York Public Library when I use ebooks services, and there's two apps you can use with it, Simply E or eSimply, and Libby. And I like Libby a lot more because the thing about Libby is it lets you transfer books to a Kindle, and I personally like reading on a Kindle a lot more than I like reading on my phone because it's less easy to get distracted on a Kindle. So I'm gonna really try to find books on Libby that I know I'll be able to get easily, but I'll also probably look on Simply E or eSimply, I forget what it's called, just because I want to have more options, and we'll kind of see where it goes. But my goal also is I don't want all the books to be insanely popular books that are going to have a huge waiting time, and I'm going to have to put them on hold for a while. I am going to choose a few to put on hold that I know are going to take like quite a few weeks, so that maybe sometime in the middle of the summer it'll just pop up and be like, oh, you have a new book, and it'll be something I've been waiting for. But I'm going to try to get a nice mix of things that are really popular and that are going to take a while, and some things that maybe are less popular and I can probably get semi immediately. And so I'm gonna go do that now, and when I get back I will tell you how my experience was, what all the books are that I picked out, what I'm most excited for, and that'll be that. So I will see you after I do some intense app browsing, and hopefully it goes well. Okay, I'm back with not 5, not 10, but 18 options for me this summer. So obviously this went very well, much better than I was expecting, because usually when I go on to Libby, I actually just spent all of my time on Libby, and it wasn't even that much time. But usually when I go on Libby, I don't know, I find something to read, but I feel like I don't spend enough time to really build up lots of options. I just go with the first thing I see. So I really wasn't expecting to get this many options so quickly. It only took me like half an hour, and obviously 18 books that I am excited to read in half an hour is pretty insane and pretty good. And also a lot of them I was expecting to have long wait times, and there are definitely a few that do, but also I think the majority of them are things I could have just hit borrow and taken out right now. And so I'm assuming that'll remain the case throughout the summer, or if there are holds, they will not be that long. And there were some with longer holds, but I said that's okay if there's a few sprinkled in. And so I wrote them all down in a notebook, so I'm going to be glancing down to read off. And also, since there are so many, I'm going to try to go fast, and I'm not going to go super in depth. You'll just have to wait until I hopefully read a good portion of them over the summer. So the first one is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. I read Pure and Nessie by her, which is her newer book. This one came out a lot of years ago. It's a lot longer. It's, I think, fantasy inspired. Gonna be probably literary. Excited for that. Next up, I have The White Album by Joan Didion. I've been reading a lot of Joan Didion. She writes fiction, she writes nonfiction. She's dead, so she doesn't write it anymore, but she wrote it when she was alive. and just really incredible writing voice and stylistic choices, and are really good at building atmosphere and making you relate to things that you've never experienced before, and crafting really good characters. Okay, I love Joan Didion, if you can't tell. The next thing I found was Age of War by Michael J. Sullivan, which is the third book in a series called The Legends of the First Empire that I've been sporadically reading and not enjoying at all. But this is the last book in kind of, it's like sectioned off. It's 6 books total, but it's like 3 books and then 3 books and whatever. So this is the third book, so I feel like even though I really did not enjoy the last one, I kind of just want to finish this third book out just to see if anything changes, because who knows. I'll probably regret it though. Next I have In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a memoir, but it's kind of stylistically different from what I've heard. Very unique and very impactful. Centers around a woman in a abusive relationship, and I've been wanting to read it for a long time, and I've been waiting for the chance to get a physical copy, but there's nothing wrong with having digital copies too, and if I really enjoy it, I can always just go out and buy a physical copy, and I should focus more on reading it than owning it, which is the right thing to do. Next I have Sirens and Muses by Antonia Angres. I've heard very mixed things about this, but it takes place in like an art school setting, I think, with young characters who are kind of, I mean, it's probably going to end badly because it's just, you know, school. I don't get enough of school during school, so I have to read about school during the summer, but they're probably gonna end up fighting and whatever. So hopefully I'll enjoy that. We'll see where it goes, but I've heard really mixed things, so maybe I'll end up hating it. Next thing I have is kind of an honorable mention. It's The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I've read American Gods, which is like his big, I guess you could say, magnum opus, and I've also read The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and I've loved both of them, but I have not read anything from him in a while, and I watched the Sandman show, and I've been wanting to read, if you don't know, this is like graphic novel comic book that he's really, really famous for, and I've been wanting to read it for a while, and Libby has, I think, every volume, so that's an option for me if I want to take a break from reading actual books. Next up, I have Vonna by Ottessa Moshfegh. I've read every book from Ottessa Moshfegh except for Vonna, which is her newest one that came out last year, and she has a short story collection that I also have not read. I really want to read both of them, and I just didn't want to buy a hardcover edition of Vonna, so I was waiting for it to come in paperback, but the library works too. And honestly, do I like Ottessa Moshfegh? I don't know at this point. I've really enjoyed some of her stuff, and I've really been kind of mixed on some other things, but very interesting writer, very unique writer, and I'm excited to see this one because I think most people hated it, and that should be interesting to read. Next I have Recitative, probably said that wrong, by Toni Morrison. I've been reading a lot of Toni Morrison. I've heard a lot about this one. It's really short, and so it's probably something good to own digitally. I don't really need to have a physical copy of it, and I think we follow 2 women, one's black, one's white. We don't really know which is which, and that's on purpose, and it kind of follows their lives. I'm not really sure. I don't know a lot about it, but it's Toni Morrison, so it will be good. And next I have Checkout 19 by Claire Louise Bennett. Honestly, know nothing about this except that everyone who reads it tends to love it, and when I read the synopsis sometime in the past few months, it seemed interesting to me, so that's definitely on the list. I also have Paradise by Fernanda Melchor. I read Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor a few months ago, and it's probably my favorite book I've read this year, and this is, I think, her newest book that's been translating to English, and I cannot wait to read that. That's something that I will pick up as soon as possible. Or I'll say that I never know what I'm going to pick up. It really just depends on what I can grab for easily. But hopefully having this on this list will incentivize me to actually read this, which I'm looking forward to because I really want to read more by her. Next I have another one I know very little about, and that's 7 Empty Houses by Samantha Schweblin. I read Fever Dream by her, which is her novel. This is a short story collection that I think takes place in 7 different houses, and follows different lives and whatever. It just sounded like an interesting premise. And while I didn't actually love Fever Dream, everyone loves that book, I was mixed on it. I loved a lot of the ideas and concepts in it, so I just really want to pick up something else by her, and this seems like a great opportunity to do so. Next I have Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. This is a memoir that's been really popular over the past few years. I think it came out 2021, and it's about the author's mother dying and her experience with that. And I'm pretty sure they had a complicated relationship. And I really want to read this because Michelle Zauner is the lead singer of a band called Japanese Breakfast, and I love Japanese Breakfast. Some of my favorite music. They're really good. You should listen to them. And I have been wanting to read this since it came out, and I don't know why it's taking me so long, and I really need to read it, and I'm excited to read it. And this is, once again, really easy. I could read at a click of a button, so will incentivize me to hopefully pick it up this summer finally. And then next I have Victory City by Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie's an author that's been around forever, and have never read a book by him, but this is his newest book, I think, and its premise sounds interesting. There's some sort of like grand sweeping story about this magical city. From what I understand, sounds interesting to me, so it's on the list. And then also next is another one I know. This one I really know nothing about. It's Trust by Hernan Diaz. I just know it's won like a lot of awards, and it's like it's pretty long, and other than that, no idea. But it's on the list in case I decide to pick it up. And I'll probably look more into it if I do decide to pick it up. But next I have another really long one, Priory of the Orange Tree. I've been wanting to read this since like 2020, before it blew up on Book Talk, I must say. But I just never got around to it because it's really big, and it's not actually that long. It's just the bindings on that book, on like every copy I see, it's like, I think it's multiple hundred pages, sure, but like you can fit that into like the Poppy War series. Like those are all multi-hundred page books, but they're not huge. The Priory of the Orange Tree is a huge book that I just do not want to lug around with me. And so digitally is something I want to read, but then I have a hard time wanting to pick up digital books that are huge, so it's kind of this problem for me that I've never read it because of that, but this is an opportunity to do so. Next I have, this one had a huge hold time, which I was surprised about, If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. This is dark academia, which I'm surprised there's such a long hold on it in like the summer, and it's not like a new book. But I don't know, I have not read a lot of dark academia, but I know this is supposed to be a really important one in the genre, and the only dark academia book I've read is The Secret History, which, well, like everyone's read The Secret History, and I loved it. Well, everyone loves The Secret History, but I really want to read more, and this is top of the list for that. And I'll probably not get around to it because it's at a 10-week hold, and that's a lot of weeks, and by that time summer will basically be over, so we'll see what happens there. But maybe if that doesn't work out, I'll try to save it for winter. Anyways, 2 more books. First, Galateo by Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller writes Greek mythology retelling. She's written The Song of Achilles, Circe. I've read The Song of Achilles, liked it enough. Did not read Circe, but it's on my TBR, and this is a really, really short one that retells the myth of Pygmalion, and I think it'll be just nice to have like a really short option for me that I can just pick up and get through really quickly at some point in the summer, and will just be like a palate cleanser for me. And also people really, really enjoy this one, so excited for that. And then lastly, I have Either Or by Elif Batuman. Definitely butchered that name, sorry. I read her other book last summer, like in the middle of last summer, and that book's called The Idiot, and this follows the same character. It's like a sequel of sorts, and I was really mixed on that one. I felt it was like way too drawn out and kind of all over the place, but it's really about that main character, who I did love quite a fair bit, and I'm just excited to get to continue with that, but I have been putting it off because of my problems with the first book. But hopefully I'll enjoy this one more, even though I think it'll probably be very similar. Maybe I just read that first one at the wrong time, and I'll enjoy the pacing more this time. But anyways, those are the 18 books I was able to find my library TBR for the summer. There's no way I'm going to get to all of them. I'm not going to focus on getting to all of them. I'm just going to read what I want. But hopefully I'll get to a fair amount of them, and they'll serve as options for me throughout the summer. But this was a good experiment. I'm probably going to end up doing this again because it just got me so many options and in such little time, and was so easy and was pretty fun. So this will probably happen again at some point. I'll also probably be reading some physical books. I'll probably end up going to the bookstore multiple times, and that'll be mixed in, and I hope to read a lot this summer. But if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe if you want. I try to post videos once a week, but maybe during the summer I'll be able to post more. But sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. And I will see you in the next one.